tone down the judgment. William Cowper, the 18th century English poet, once said, "Where men of judgment creep and feel their way, the positive pronounce without dismay." And I'm trying to create some space here, a bit of a safety barrier, because this is where things get a little hard, okay? If we want to become, in Jesus' name for others, the beatitude of God, the blessing that God intends for them, then we have to tone down the judgment. We have to tone down the judgment. And that is something that we are all either subconsciously or very deliberately guilty of. When it comes to trying to be for the poor, for the hungry, for the weeping, for the excluded, the blessing of God, we spend so much time and effort and energy and creativity in trying to figure out which poor, which hungry, which weeping, and which excluded. We spend inordinate amount of energy in trying to figure out who is the worthy poor, hungry, weeping, and excluded, and who might be the unworthy, poor, hungry, weeping, and excluded. We try our best to discern between who might be deserving of our being for them the blessing of God in Jesus' name, and who might not be deserving. And it's part of our makeup. It's part of our inheritance. In fact, it was a deliberate principle in Tudor England, where parishes were instructed to distinguish between the so-called deserving poor and undeserving poor. And here's how they made that determination, right? The deserving poor were those who were poor through no fault of their own, simply the victims of a system or an accident that put them in that position. It was not their fault. The undeserving poor were those who were poor as a result of their own lack of responsibility, their own lack of wisdom, their own lack of whatever, or their own unwillingness, etc., etc. Those became the undeserving poor, and so parishes were instructed to distinguish between the two and help only the deserving poor. And that's something that we've inherited. Not in a deliberate sort of policy way, but certainly in a subconscious way.